This is the Roulette Master, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe by hitting the red subscribe button in the lower right hand corner. Also ring that bell for notifications because I have new content releasing every single day of the week at 9 a.m. For today's video, this is for those of you high rollers that have been messaging me saying that I need to show some stuff for people that want to make more money and a little bit faster. I'll just let you know before we get started, though, that I do use this and have been successful with it. But whenever you play this way, you have to be ready to, lose the money that you've brought. But it's important to have a large startup fund and patience with this in case you start off poorly, because it will come back usually. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is actually part of a recovery video that I did a few months ago for recovering lost money playing roulette. And so you might have seen it before, but for those of you that haven't, I think you'll like it. And again, this is for those of you that that want to that risk a little more and make a little bit more money. So we're going to start with 150 on the last 12 that hit, which is second 12, and then the one that hasn't hit recently, which is first 12. And then we're going to spin. And we're going to go up 2 units of 10 when we lose. We're going to go back 1 unit when we win. So we won at 150, so that means the next bet will be 140. And we're going to take the first 12 that just hit. And then we're going to take the third 12 that hasn't hit recently. So that's 140 each, 280 total bet. We're up 150. Okay, we won. So now we go to 130 because these are units of 10. We go back 1 when we win, 2 forward when we lose. So the next one's 130. We're going to put 130 on the third 12 that just hit, and then 130 on the second 12 that hasn't hit recently. And that's 260 total. We're up 290 already. $14. Okay, we hit, so now we go to 120, and we're going to pick the one that just hit, and then the one that hasn't hit recently, which is the first. Okay, we're up 420 now, and this is a 240 bet, 120 each. Okay, and we lost. So when we lose at 120, we go to 140. That's 2 units of 10 forward. So now 140 each on the third 12 that just hit, and then the first 12 which hasn't hit recently. Okay, 280 total bet. We're up 180. Okay, and we won. So now we go from 140 to 130. We're going to pick the first 12 that just hit, and then we're going to pick the second 12 that hasn't hit recently. Okay, so that's 260 total. We're up 320. Okay, we got it. So now we go from 130 to 120. We're up 450, and we're going to pick the second 12. Yeah, we were 130 each, so now we're 120. And 120 on the second 12 that just hit, and then 120 on the third 12 which hasn't hit recently for a 240 total bet. We got it, so now we go to 110. We're up 570. We're going to pick the second 12 that just hit, and we're going to pick the third 12 which hasn't hit recently. And that's 110 each, up 570. So we got 110 on the second, 110 on the third. Okay, then we won that. So now we'll go to 100. We'll bet on the third 12 that just hit, and then we'll bet on the first 12 that hasn't hit recently, and we're up 680. Now it can start out the opposite way where you get down early, and that's why you need a large startup fund, at least $2,500, in case it goes the other way first. We got another win there. The nice thing about carrying two 12s though is you can get on a run like this where you win a bunch in a row when you have 2/3 of the numbers on the board. So we're up 780 now, and we're at 100. So the next bet would be 90. We'd bet on the third 12 that just hit, and then we'd bet on the first 12 that hasn't hit recently. And we lost at 90, so now we go to 110. We bet on the second 12, and then we bet on the first 12 that hasn't hit recently. Or I'm sorry, 110 each. So 220 total. Okay, we won at 110, so the next one's going to be 100. And we'll bet on the first 12 that just hit, and the third 12 that hasn't hit recently. Up 710. We got it. So now we go to 90. We're up $810, and we'll go with the first 12 that just hit, and we'll go with the third 12 that hasn't hit recently. And we lost, so we go from 90 to 110, up to $10 units, and we'll pick the second 12 that just hit, and then we'll pick the third 12 that hasn't hit recently. And we lost again, so we lost at 110. So this is the other side of it that you need to know how to deal with and be patient with. So now we're going from 110 to 130, up 2 units. We'll pick the first 12 that just hit, and then we'll pick the third 12 that, see, 130 each. Yep, 260 total. The third 12 that hasn't hit recently. Okay, here we go. Okay, we got a win there at 130, so now we go back to 120. We pick the third 12 that just hit, and then we pick the second 12 that hasn't hit recently for 240 total. And we got it, so now we go to 110. We pick the second 12 that just hit, and the first 12 that hasn't hit recently. 220 total bet. We're up, I think that was 660. Okay, and we lost at 110. So now we're going to 130, and we pick the third 12 that just hit, and then we pick the first 12 that has not hit recently. We're up 440, 130 on each. Okay, we lost again. So now this is the patience I was talking about. So 130 each. Now we go to 150 each. We pick the second 12 that just hit and the first 12 that hasn't hit recently. We won at 150, so now we go to 140. Again, we pick the first one that just hit, and then we pick the third that hasn't hit recently for a 280 total bet. I think we got that one. So now we go from 140 to 130, and we'll pick the first that just hit, and then the third that hasn't hit let me make sure that's right. Yeah, 130 each. So 260 total. That's right. So we went from 140 to 130 because we won. Okay, and we won there. So now we're at 120, up 600. Pick the third that just hit and the second that hasn't hit recently for a 240 total bet. Again, we were at 130 each. Now we're at 120 each. And we won. So now we go to 110 and we pick the second that just hit and the first that hasn't hit recently. We got that. So now we go back to 100. We're up 830. Let's pick the second 12 that just hit and the first that hasn't hit recently. And we got back to $100. So now we're up 930. So let's pick the second 12. You see the last one was 100, so we're at 90. Pick second 12 that just hit and third 12 that hasn't hit recent. All right, we got that. So now we're up $1,020 in probably about 15 minutes. So that's the good side of it. You saw some of the bad too when we lost about 3 or 4 in a row there and got up to around $150, back up to 150, where we were only winning about half of the ones with 2/3 of the numbers. But then we had some good runs too. So we ended up winning 1,020, but realize too you can lose that much as well with this system, especially if your startup fund isn't big enough, because what this system requires most is patience, large startup fund, and just hanging in there. So again, don't bet with money that you don't have, but this is a good one. I use it at the casino, especially if I want to make a lot of money quickly, and I'm not too concerned about if I do lose money. So it's a good one. I like to do it, especially when I'm up a lot, because I know that if I do well, I'm gonna win a lot more, and I've got some money to risk. So hope you like this video. Again, thank you to Lenny who came up with the original video that a lot of these modifications are based off of. And if you have a system that you're using, I would love to see it. Please send it in, and I would love to showcase it on the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit the red subscribe button. And also hit that bell for notifications, because I have new content releasing every single day of the week at 9 a.m. This is the Roulette Master, and have a great day.